Hi, I'm Tom Stevenson and I'm a professor of construction management. Welcome to Microsoft Project, the course. I've uploaded some links in the directions below so that you can download a start point file and follow along. That'll make it a lot easier. If you're trying to learn a software program, it's always easier if you can follow along. So in this series, I've actually provided some Google Drive links so that you can start each video at the same point as I'm going with, and then that will really help it to resonate. This is video number 3, so if you haven't seen the first 2 videos and you're new to Microsoft Project, you might want to check them out in the playlist on Microsoft Project, the course. Alright, so in this video we're going to be looking at calendars. Now in the previous videos, just as a little bit of a catch-up, we created a work breakdown structure for our project called the classroom. So over here you can see it says classroom remodel. So we're doing a bunch of classrooms, we're remodeling them, and we've set up a work breakdown structure. So at the top level we've got the classroom, the next level down, which we can view by level by going to the View tab over here. We can go to View, and we can go to Outline and look at it at the different levels. That's level 1, level 2 is the next level down, and level 3 is the next one where it opens up. I kind of just color coded them by right clicking and just picking a color. Kind of works okay. You may find that when I make changes to certain things it may disappear in those cells, but it does kind of make it pop and it does stand out, especially for this video learning instruction. It kind of looks a lot like Primavera. If anybody's used Primavera scheduling software, it's all color coded the work breakdown structure. Alright, so as I said, today we're going to be looking at calendars, and right now we've got a schedule with a critical path in it. It's been identified, critical path being the longest path through the project. But you know what? We never did anything with dates and calendars. So if I zoom this out and let's say I scroll to this task here, which is rough in electrical, you can kind of see what's going on a daily basis. By the way, with the time scale, when you're looking at it, this is what we call the time scale. If you want to squeeze it so you can see more, you can double click on it and that brings up the time scale box. You can customize all this to show a lot of different formats if you want. I usually just leave it at the default here. You could match mine pretty much if you needed to, if yours is a little bit different. But what I'm noticing here is that the size is at 177%. That's too big. I'm going to make it 55%. And that'll squeeze all of the dates. So if I click OK, now they're pretty close together, and now I can see more weeks in one screen. So in this particular project schedule, I have not put in any holidays. So we haven't done anything to the calendar yet. Realistically, you would probably do the calendar first. You would set up all the holidays that you have, and what I would do is I would set up a template file. In my playlist, I've even done a video where I create a 10-year template file for calendars, and what that is that you've got all of the holidays in it for the next 10 years, and so every time you start a new project you don't have to put in the holidays. And wherever you are, the holidays are different. If you're in Ontario, Canada, they're one thing. If you're in the United States, they're another thing. Even in provinces across our country, we have some days that are a little bit different by province. So you have to really sort of adjust it to wherever you're located. Maybe you're somewhere in Europe or in South Africa. We get people from all over the world watching these, right? So you have to suit it. Now, what I'm going to say is if you don't put in holidays, then what it means is as soon as you have a holiday, you're going to be one day behind schedule because your schedule is going to assume you're working on those days. So it's very important to put all of those holidays in. So let's take a look at the calendar. Where would we find that? Well, we've been looking at the task tab extensively in this course on the top left there. We're going to look at the project tab. So we're going to look over here at the project tab. And we're going to go to change working time. So we'll go over to change working time. And this brings up the calendar, where we enter stuff for the calendar. So I'm just going to be today going through some of the basics for the calendar. There's a lot of things that we can do, and I'll probably get into that in a little bit further when we're a little bit further along in a more advanced class. But for sure, we want to put in the holidays. And so as I said, in Canada we have a holiday that's called Family Day, maybe called something different in different provinces, but Ontario anyways. And so I'm just going to put here Family Day. Now you notice that I clicked here first. I do find that it's easier if you click the date here first. You can type it in first and then enter the date, but sometimes if you're working on a different version of Microsoft Project than I've got here, which is Plan 3, the online version, sometimes it gets quirky. I haven't found this to get too quirky, but some of the other additions do get a little bit quirky, and you have to sometimes go back and forth a little bit to get the date to stick. It's just some of those things that happens in Microsoft Project. If you're in a different version than I have, they're pretty much all the same from 2010 to now, except there's a few add-on features that I'm not going to be discussing in the next few classes anyways. I'll let you know when I get there. So you can follow along with whatever version as long as it's 2010 forward. All right, so I'm under exceptions. So you see this tab, we've got work weeks and we've got exceptions. So I'm under exceptions. I'm going to type in over here Family Day. So I'll just type that in right now, Family Day. And then I'm going to go to, you can click that and I can click out of that. Now I'm going to go to another date. So I think Good Friday this year is April 7th. So I'm going to pick April 7th and I'm going to say Good Friday. I'll just click on Start and it should make that hatch. See the hatching over here? That means it's non-working. All these ones that are clear, that means it's working. So you can always see when something's the default. Right now I'm working in the standard calendar. There are 3 calendars that come preloaded in Microsoft Project, and you can create your own new calendars, which we'll show you in a little bit. So I'm going to move forward here to Victoria Day, which is on the Monday here. So I'm going to say Victoria Day. And then I'm going to move forward to, so I'll just click on that Start, that accepts it. And then I'm going to click over here to, we have Canada Day, which is on July 1st. So if it's on a Saturday or Sunday, you usually get the Monday or the Friday off. So I'll pick the Monday. And I'm going to pick July 3rd. So, just jumping ahead there, Canada Day. And I'm going to say July 3rd. All right. And so July 3rd, we've got that date there. And then we will go to the first Monday in August. That's also a civic holiday. Just putting a few in here just so you can see it. And so that's the first Monday. And we'll do maybe one more, Labor Day. Okay, so we'll do Labor Day. Click over there. All right, so we just put in a few. You put it, like construction projects, they usually run several years, so that's the other thing. Like I said, I usually populate out a schedule that goes for like 10 years, and then I'll put in the holiday, like I've got it already with all the holidays for 10 years, and then I don't have to keep doing this. But there are certain things that you always have to be careful about, even if you've got a template. Like, for example, if I go to the Christmas time period for 2023. Question is, do you not work Christmas and Boxing Day, or like many construction companies, do you take that whole week off, maybe not coming back till January 2nd, right? You got to look at, well, what does your company do? And you got to make sure that you block it off. Because if you only block off the 25th and the 26th, and then you end up taking the whole week off, well, you'll come back 3 days behind schedule because it would have assumed you worked these days. If you want to block off a whole long time period, the easiest is, again, pick the day, the start date, and I'll put Christmas holidays. And probably the easiest in this case is just to say, boom, the 25th, and then go to, what did I say, January 1st, so that I blocked it right off from then to January 1st. And if I go over here, you see that it's blocked off there. These are just showing the darkened part. Bold just means it's been edited. So yes, it's been edited. These are still off days. We just ran it right through. It was easier that way than putting extra line items there. So here, I'll click on Family Day. We're under exceptions. If I was to create a calendar that was 10 years long, well, there's some dates that are pretty easy to do and others that might take you a little bit of time. Family Day, I'm going to go to Details, and I'm going to say that I want to make it non-working, which it's showing. And it's showing, I've got choices, weekly, monthly. I'm going to say yearly. And Family Day is one of those holidays where it's always the third Monday of February. Labor Day is always the first Monday of September. In Canada, Thanksgiving is always the second Monday in October. The US, it's in November, right? But you'll find that some holidays have this sort of thing going on, just like some holidays like July 4th are always on July 4th, but if it's on a long weekend, you usually get the Monday off, as an example. So I'm going to say yearly, and then if I said 10 years, or 10 occurrences, which is yearly, so it'd be 10 years, then if I look at this here, then it's gone to 2032. So that means if I scroll through to say next February, it should be off. If I go February 2024, so there, you see it's off. It's hatched, that it's not in use. So that's a quick way of putting them all in. Otherwise, you got to put in one for every year line item. Well, that would take a lot of time. Unfortunately, ones like Good Friday and Victoria Day even, you could probably get away with, like Victoria Day, it's got this sort of oddball thing that I think it's anything before the 22nd. It'll come in the Monday before that, but once it gets out here, I don't think it any longer falls on like the fourth Monday. That's kind of unusual there. So you kind of have to, if you want it accurately, put it in for 10 years. The other thing you could do is July too. You could put in for Canada Day, July 1st, and you could say that it's going to be on every July 1st, but then you got to go in and see which ones fall on a weekend and put a separate line item for them. So that's why, you know, your first one, if you're doing one out for 10 years, do it once, and then you don't have to do that every time, right? So that saves a lot of time that way. People ask me, well, does Microsoft Project come preloaded with all the holidays? No, it doesn't. And if it did, you'd have to make sure that it's right for your particular location. I did find one time online these templates that you could download that did have it for a lot of places. I haven't seen that recently, but it's something that's possible, I suppose, if somebody wanted to post all the templates. So, and maybe in a later video, I'll do that. I'll post a link to my 10-year one that I've created. Okay, so we've done that. Now the next thing I wanted to say is, well, that's for holidays. Let's just say, for example, and where's our project? It's going from the 23rd, right? So we've got it here. We got January 11th. That it's January the 11th that we started this project, right? So let's make it. Let's say in February. What do we got in February? Does it make any sense? Probably not. January, February. Now let's not put it into there. Well, maybe. Okay. Let's say March. We want to have 3 Saturdays that we work. Maybe the 11th, the 18th, and the 25th. It's not always that you want to have days that you don't work. There's times where you do work. Especially when we get into the updating process. Maybe you decide to get time back. You're going to work a few Saturdays. Or maybe you're going to work quite a few Saturdays. Or maybe you're going to work all the Saturdays, right? So it depends what your schedule is. And we'll talk about that as we go. But let's just say we want to March 11th, 18th, and 25th. So I'm going to put in here March Saturday workdays. And we'll put 2023. All right. So I'm going to do that. And it would have been easier if I put that first. See, it put it over. It's got it over on the 27th. Does that. So I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to change this. So I'm going to say that it's going to start on March 11th, right? And I'm going to put that it's going to finish on March 11th. So it's just that one. And right now it's showing that it's a work day, right? So if I want to show that, that it's a non-working day. So So if I want to show that as a work day, what I have to do is I have to go up to details here. And in details, if you remember before, you know, it said non-working. Well, I want to make it working. So I'm going to make it, it's showing an 8-hour day, 8 to 12, 1 to 5. The time doesn't really matter, I think, in most projects if you're working an 8-hour day. So that's not such a big deal. And so we'll leave it as 8-hour days. We're going to work. If I only wanted to work 4 hours, I could delete this, or I could change it to whatever hours I want to work, right? So you can adjust this however you want. I'm going to say weekly on Saturdays, right? I could make it Saturday and Sunday, right? If I wanted to. And I'm going to say for 3 occurrences, right? I said the 11th, the 18th, and the 25th. And it's kind of showing me now that I would finish by the 25th. So I'm going to click OK. And now you see that they're lightened. Now I'm going to click OK over here because this is what saves it. If I don't click OK here, I've lost everything. Or if I shut it, I've lost everything. So you got to click OK. If I press cancel, I've lost everything. So it's always good to click OK partway through, I would suggest. Now you notice when I clicked OK, all of this lit up. It turned like blue in color. So that's telling you what I just did changed all of those dates. Changed all of those dates. That's what I said. When the dates change, it actually cancels out the colors in here. That's okay. I'm not too worried about that. This is kind of cool, though, with the colors here. So I've got all of those changes in place. I should be able to see the holidays, too. So if you're looking, if your screen's not set too bright, I do find sometimes the screen is set really bright and you can't see it. But if it's not set too bright, you should see like Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's hatched. If you don't see that hatching, there's a problem. See here, the Saturday, the Saturday, the Saturday. So you're working on all those days. Now, like I said, if you've got a really bright monitor, you might not see the hatching. So that might not be that much of a problem. As long as you also, when you go back to change working time, you should scroll through and see all the holidays. I always scroll through and see if it is representing what I want it to represent. As long as it shows that, then that's fine with the hatchings, right? I'm looking for the holidays. So that's always a good check to do to make sure that it kept all of those holidays. And you can see it flagged me with that changing blue, that it changed all those dates and it changed the finish date. Of course, yeah, we put in a bunch of holidays and we had a bunch of Saturday working days. So one probably canceled out the other a little bit, but I think I had more holidays than I had Saturday work days. Okay, so let's go back up to change working time. And if we wanted to create a special calendar, right? I did this all in the standard, but maybe we want to create a special calendar. So let's call this plumbing, a rough plumbing sub. Okay, so we'll call it plumbing subcontractor. Now, if I make a copy of the standard, it will keep all of this. So if I wanted to keep all of this, I should make a copy. If I don't, then I create a new one, but then I probably got to put in all the holidays. So I'm going to keep this. I created a copy. Also note, whenever I click on something, it tells me what it is up there and what the work time or if it's non-working is. You notice here, it's now saying plumbing subcontractor. We've just created a new calendar, and it's got all of these holidays in it. So it's got all of those holidays in it. Maybe, you know what, maybe we don't want the Saturday work days, we don't want for this plumbing sub. So maybe it's just as easy to just delete that. So this plumbing sub isn't going to be working those 3 days. I'm going to put here under details. Now, actually, no, before I go to details, I'm going to go to work weeks. So we're in exceptions. I'm going to go to work weeks. Now, let's say in our unionized environment in Toronto, our mechanical contractors typically work a 4-day week. So I'm just going to put here default, and I'm going to say details. And I'm going to say that they don't work Fridays. So I'm going to set Fridays to non-working time. So what's key here is I went to work weeks and I went to default. This means they never work Fridays, right? So I'm going to click OK, and now you see that this hatches out that they never work Fridays. I'm going to click OK, and When I click OK, nothing happens. Nothing has changed on my, this was the blue from before. Until I do something new, it stays there, but now it's kind of gone. So there, now it's the colors have come back. So this is not affecting my schedule yet. So it's not affecting my schedule. Just pull this in the timeline so you can see a little bit more on the project here. It's better. All right, so this is not affecting my project because my project, if I go to Project tab, Project Information, this project information box, it tells me when my project started. We did this in the first video, right? But it also tells me what calendar is my project following. I could make it follow the plumbing subcontractor, but I don't want to. It's following the standard. And that's kind of the default where it would be set up to. I'm going to click OK, that's fine. Now I'm going to say, you know what? The plumbing sub here, I'm going to assign this rough-in plumbing to the work that they're going to do. So the activities that they're going to do, I'm going to assign this calendar. So I'm going to go to the Advanced tab. So it's not that advanced, they call it that. And I'm going to click on Calendar. It says none, but in reality everything is following the standard calendar because of what was up in the project information box. So I don't have to go in here and say, oh, you got to follow the standard. It's already following the standard. But if I want to follow a different calendar, then I have to say plumbing subcontractor. All right. Now this is showing 14 days, right? And it's not on the critical path. So let's see what happens with this, because I don't know myself, except that this should get longer. I don't know if it's going to long enough to get critical, but it should get longer. Click OK, and it did become critical, right? And it did become critical. And it even changed the start date on it, which I've got to assume was probably a Friday, so it moved it to the Monday. It put this little box here, this little icon. If I hover over it, it says it has a special calendar assigned to it. Problem with special calendars is that if something becomes critical and it's a special calendar, it's not following what everything else does, what's before it doesn't show critical anymore. That's I find a little bit annoying, but it's just pointing out that it's not following the critical path, that you've assigned something that's off the norm to it. All right, so it's almost like it's got a constraint that it can't start on a Friday, as an example. It moved over. Maybe we'll zoom into this just to see what it's looking like by the day. So if I go in here, there it is by the day. All right, and good. You can kind of just fit the screen here. I'll just move this over so it does fit. So it says 14 days. Now remember, this is always working days, right? So this says 17 days. And so this one's going, you know, it's got a 6-day work week in here in March. It's got another 6-day work week, actually 5 days. So you can actually count out the days and see what this one is doing, right? So you got 1, you got 6, 7, you got 5, that would be 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, and there's the 17th day. So that's what's going on. Now here, it couldn't start on the Friday, right? Because that's a non-working day. Remember, we deleted that part on Saturday. They don't work Saturdays, so it didn't start their work till the Monday. And so now I've got it showing it running straight through, but this would only run Monday to Thursday. So they would have 4 days there. They would have 4 days here, so that's 8. They would have 4 days here, that's 12, 13, 14 days. So that's how it's counting that. Now, later on, you'll probably forget that you assigned this calendar. And you'll be wondering, like, what's going on? Why is it not starting there? And, you know, you can have hours of frustration trying to figure that out. I always look at the indicator column. Very helpful column. It tells you if you've done something, like put a constraint, put a special calendar, put a note. If you double click on an activity, you can place a post-it note beside it. Special calendar as an example. It doesn't need it because I got the other icon, but just to show you. And it shows up in the indicator column. Very, very helpful column. You can insert it in other screens as long as you know the name. You right click, insert column, type I, for indicators, and it will insert it. And remember, in Microsoft Project, when you delete a column, it's only deleting it from view. It's not deleting it like it would in Excel. So just as a quick review, we've showed you how to put in holidays, going to project and change working time, putting in your holidays. We've said how you can do it for multiple days, like if it's under exceptions, like for example, Labor Day, I could go to details and say yearly on the first Monday of September for 10 years. And now I've got my Labor Day in for 10 years. And so that's making it easier. We did say that I would do this as a template to begin with in a blank file, save it, and then you can always open that blank file, rename it, and start that with all the standard sort of holidays in it. But we also said that you should go through and make sure that you've checked any special things that may be unique to your project, shutdown periods, lack of access, holidays that might be different from one project to the other, and make sure they conform the way you want it. And that will be very helpful in ensuring that you've set up your holidays the way that you would like them to be set up. Now, it does get a little bit more advanced for when we want to do 6-day schedules all the time, and you want to work longer hours. You have to go into options and do a few other things. I do talk about that in one of my other videos if you check the playlist, where I do get into that, and I will likely get into that in this course later on. But for now, you will find the start point file for this in the description, and you can link it so you can download it from Google Drive and follow along. You can stop and start and go back and check and all of that fun stuff so that it resonates with you. If you're only just watching it passively, it's not going to resonate so much. So that's what I encourage you to try and do. And you can do it more than once so that it really sinks in. I'm Tom Stephenson. Please don't forget to click subscribe and the notifications so you'll see new videos in this course as they come out weekly, and then you can access them and keep practice. And by the end of the course, you will have a good idea of how to use Microsoft Project in a lot of different ways. I'm Tom Stephenson, wishing you a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.